For the 1000th time, she said it. My ex never let me down. I looked up from my meatloaf, the same recipe my mother taught me, the same one Vanna used to love before she discovered organic kale in quinoa bowls. My fork stopped halfway to my mouth as those words hung in the air like smoke from a house fire. My ex never let me down, Vanna repeated, scrolling through her phone while our 16-year-old son Nate pushed peas around his plate. She wasn't even looking at me. Just talking to the universe, I guess, letting it know that Holden Revell, 41-year-old commercial property appraiser, was a disappointment compared to the golden boy who came before. I set down my fork. 20 years of marriage, and it always came back to him. The ex. The standard I could never meet. The ghost at our dinner table. You know what, Vanna? I said, my voice steady as concrete. Then you married the wrong man. She went pale. Actually pale. Her phone slipped from her manicured fingers and clattered onto the table. Nate looked up, his eyes wide. The kid was smart. Honor roll smart. And he'd been watching this slow-motion train wreck for months. I can fix that, I added, already reaching for my phone. The attorney call was already made. Well, not literally made, but Clint Morrison's number was burned into my brain. My old college buddy turned divorce lawyer. We'd grabbed beers just last month, and he'd mentioned something about asset protection. Funny how the universe works. Holden, what are you... Vanna started, but I was already walking toward the kitchen, phone pressed to my ear. Clint? It's Holden. Yeah, I know it's late. Remember that conversation we had about protecting assets before filing? I need to talk. The thing about being a commercial property appraiser is that you learn to see value where others don't. You learn to spot the flaws, the hidden problems, the stuff that looks good on the surface but rots underneath. I'd been applying those skills to real estate for 15 years. Turns out they work pretty well on marriages too. I'd seen the signs for months, the late-night texts, the phone always face down, the way Vanna's friend Jessa would smirk when she thought I wasn't looking, the gym membership to Elite Fitness that cost more than our monthly grocery bill. But it was the receipt that broke the camel's back. Tucked in Vanna's purse last Tuesday, signed with a heart, Trey V. Great workout today. Trey. Even his name sounded like a protein shake commercial. I'd done my homework after that. Amazing what you can learn when you actually pay attention. Shared credit card statements showing charges at hotels I'd never been to. Text messages on our family plan. Yeah, I pay the bills, so I see the records. Not the content, but the frequency. Hundreds of texts to the same number. A number that definitely wasn't mine. Dad? Nate appeared in the kitchen doorway. Is everything okay? I looked at my son. Really looked at him. He had my eyes, but Vanna's stubborn chin. Good kid. Deserved better than watching his parents tear each other apart over dinner every night. It will be, I said. Your mom and I need to have some conversations. Adult stuff. But you're going to be fine, okay? He nodded, but I could see the worry creeping in. 16 years old and already learning that the adults in his life weren't as solid as they pretended to be. Clint picked up on the third ring. Holden, everything all right? Remember that rental property on Maple Street, the duplex I bought before Vanna and I got married? Yeah, the one you fixed up yourself. What about it? It's still in my name only, right? Never added her to the deed? A pause. Clint was a good lawyer. He could smell trouble through the phone. That's correct. Pre-marital asset, separate property. Why? Because I think it's about to become very important. Can you meet me tomorrow morning? Early? How early? Before my wife wakes up early. Another pause. I'll put the coffee on. 7 a.m., my office. I hung up and walked back to the dining room. Vanna was still sitting there, staring at her plate like it might provide answers. Nate had disappeared, probably to his room to put on headphones and pretend his family wasn't imploding. 20 years, Vanna said without looking up. 20 years. And this is how you want to handle it? Handle what exactly? I sat back down, picked up my fork. The meatloaf was cold now, but I took a bite anyway. Handle you comparing me to your ex for the 1000th time? Handle you checking out of this marriage? Or handle you working out with Trey 3 times a week? She flinched like I'd slapped her. How did you? I pay attention, Vanna. It's what I do for a living. I notice things. Like how you haven't looked me in the eye during dinner in 2 months. Like how you shower immediately after your workouts. Like how you've been moving money from our joint savings to your personal account. You've been watching me? I've been married to you. There's a difference. She stood up, her chair scraping against the hardwood floor. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. Your ex never let you down. Well, congratulations. You're about to get a chance to see if that's still true. I finished my meatloaf while she stood there, opening and closing her mouth like a fish out of water. When I was done, I carried my plate to the kitchen, rinsed it off, and loaded it into the dishwasher. Normal evening routine, like nothing had changed, except everything had changed. Holden, we need to talk about this. No, I said, drying my hands on the dish towel. We needed to talk about this months ago, before Trey, before you decided I wasn't good enough, before you checked out completely. I never said you weren't good enough. You didn't have to. You said it every time you mentioned him, every time you compared our life to whatever fantasy you've built up in your head, every time you made it clear that I was the consolation prize. I walked past her toward the stairs. I'm going to check on Nate, and then I have some calls to make. What calls? I stopped at the bottom of the staircase and looked back at her. She looked smaller somehow, fragile. For a second, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. The kind of calls you make when your wife tells you for the 1000th time that her ex never let her down. Nate was lying on his bed, staring at the ceiling, earbuds in. I knocked on the door frame and he pulled one out. You guys getting divorced? He asked. No point in sugarcoating it with this kid. Probably. Because of Mom's trainer? Smart kid. Too smart. Because your mom and I want different things, and because sometimes people grow apart. That's adult speak for, yes, because of the trainer. I sat on the edge of his bed. Your mom made some choices. I'm making some choices too. But none of this is about you, okay? Whatever happens between your mom and me, you're still our son. That doesn't change. Will I have to choose, like, who to live with? Let's take it one step at a time, but I want you to know, whatever you choose, I'll understand, and I'll still be your dad. He nodded, but I could see the wheels turning. 16 years old and already calculating the angles, figuring out how to navigate the wreckage of his parents' marriage. Dad? For what it's worth, I think Mom's being stupid. Don't talk about your mother like that. Even if it's true? I ruffled his hair. Especially if it's true. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be interesting. I spent the next 2 hours in my home office, pulling together paperwork. The duplex on Maple Street was worth about $200,000 now. I'd put $30,000 into renovations over the years, all documented. Separate property, like Clint said. Vanna had never shown any interest in it anyway. Called it my hobby house. Funny how hobbies become lifelines. I also pulled our financial statements. Joint checking, joint savings, my 401k, her IRA. The rental income from the duplex went into a separate account. My separate account. Another thing Vanna had never paid attention to. My phone buzzed. Text from Derek, my coworker at the appraisal company. We'd worked together for 8 years, grabbed beers every Friday. Good guy. Solid. Saw Vanna at Elite Fitness today with some musclehead. Everything okay? I stared at the text for a long time. So it was that obvious. Even Derek could see it. I typed back, Not really. Can we talk tomorrow? Absolutely. Coffee before work? Yeah, thanks. Anytime, brother. I set the phone down and leaned back in my chair. The house was quiet now. Vanna had gone to bed without saying goodnight. Nate's light was off. Just me and the paperwork and the slow, steady tick of the grandfather clock in the hallway. For the 1000th time, she'd said it. But this time, I'd answered. And tomorrow, the real work would begin. Clint's office smelled like coffee and leather, the kind of place where important decisions got made. He was already waiting when I arrived at 7 a.m., 2 steaming mugs on his desk and a legal pad covered in notes. You look like hell, he said, gesturing to the chair across from his desk. Feel like it too. I accepted the coffee gratefully. How much trouble am I in? Depends. How much trouble are you planning to get into? I pulled out the folder I'd prepared the night before. I want to protect the duplex, and I want to separate our finances before she empties the accounts. Clint flipped through the paperwork, his expression neutral. Lawyers were good at that, showing nothing until they had all the facts. The duplex is clean, he said after a few minutes. Pre-marital asset, separate property, you've maintained it with separate funds. She has no claim. And the joint accounts? Trickier. But if you can show she's been moving money without your knowledge, we can argue dissipation of marital assets. Might even work in your favor. I pulled out the bank statements. She's moved $12,000 in the last 3 months. Small amounts, but consistent. To where? Personal account I didn't know existed until yesterday. Clint whistled low. She's been planning this longer than you thought. Apparently. I took a sip of coffee. It was good. Better than the swill I made at home. What's my move? Legally? File for separation, freeze the joint accounts, document everything. Personally? He leaned back in his chair. That's up to you, but whatever you do, do it clean. Don't give her ammunition. I'm not looking to destroy her, Clint. I just want out, with my dignity intact. Good. Dignity's about all most people get in these situations. He grabbed a fresh legal pad. Let's talk strategy. Derek was waiting at Murphy's Diner when I arrived at 8:30. He'd already ordered eggs over easy, wheat toast, black coffee. Same thing every morning for as long as I'd known him. So, he said without preamble, how long have you known? About Trey, couple weeks. About her checking out? Couple months. Trey's his name? Jesus, sounds like a protein supplement. I almost smiled. Almost. Yeah, well, apparently protein supplements are more appealing than property appraisers. Vanna's an idiot. Derek cut into his eggs, yolk running across the plate. You know that, right? Complete idiot. Doesn't make it hurt less. No, but it should make the decision easier. He looked up at me. You are making a decision, right? Not just going to sit there and take it? I saw a lawyer this morning. Good. What else? I told him about the duplex, the bank accounts, the separation paperwork Clint was drawing up. Derek listened without interrupting, occasionally nodding. What about evidence? He asked when I finished. What about it? The affair. You got proof? Some. Receipts, text frequency records, Derek's eyewitness account. I gestured at him. But I'm not hiring a private investigator, if that's what you're asking. Don't need to. These days people document their own stupidity. He pulled out his phone. You know Trey's last name? Morrison. Trey Morrison. Derek's fingers flew over his phone screen. After a minute, he turned it toward me. This him? The Instagram profile showed a guy in his mid-30s, all muscles and teeth, shirtless gym selfies, motivational quotes about grinding and living your best life. And there, in a photo from 3 days ago, was Vanna. They were at some trendy restaurant downtown, her hand on his arm, both of them smiling at the camera. She posted this? I asked. He did. Tagged her and everything. Savannah-style boutique. I stared at the photo. My wife of 20 years, looking happier than I'd seen her in months. With another man. On the internet for everyone to see. Send me the link, I said. Already did. Check your email. My phone buzzed with Derek's message. The evidence I needed, delivered with a side of humiliation. You okay? Derek asked. No, but I will be. What's the plan? I thought about that. What was the plan? Clint could handle the legal stuff, but this felt bigger than paperwork and asset division. This felt personal. I'm going to give her exactly what she wants, I said finally. Which is? A comparison to her ex, a real one. I spent the rest of the day at work, appraising a strip mall in the suburbs. Normal day, normal routine, except nothing felt normal anymore. Every time my phone buzzed, I expected it to be Vanna, but she didn't call, didn't text. Radio silence. Around 3 p.m., Derek stopped by my office. Got something for you, he said, closing the door behind him. Ran into my buddy Jake at lunch. He works at Elite Fitness. And? Trey Morrison's got a reputation. Serial trainer. Hooks up with married clients. Takes them for whatever he can get. Moves on when the money runs out. How many? Jake knows of at least 3 in the last 2 years. All married, all well off, all ended up divorced. I leaned back in my chair. So Vanna's not special. She's just next in line. Looks that way. But here's the interesting part. Jake says Trey's been bragging about this one. Says she's going to leave her husband. They're going to open a wellness center together. With what money? Derek shrugged. Guess. The $12,000 from our joint account. Probably more by now. Vanna wasn't just having an affair. She was funding her exit strategy. There's more, Derek said. Jake thinks Trey's been using the gym after hours. Bringing clients for private sessions. Management doesn't know, but the night cleaning crew's seen cars in the lot. Including Vanna's. White BMW. Yeah, Jake's seen it. I stared out my office window at the parking lot below. Normal people living normal lives, going to normal jobs, coming home to normal families. When had I stopped being normal? Derek, can I ask you something? Shoot. If your wife was cheating on you, what would you do? He didn't hesitate. I'd make sure she regretted it. How? Legally, publicly, completely. He sat down across from my desk. Look, Holden, you're a good guy. Too good, maybe. You've been letting Vanna walk all over you for years with this ex-boyfriend bullshit. Now she's escalating. Time to escalate back. I'm not looking for revenge, Derek. I just want out. Sometimes they're the same thing. I got home at 6. Vanna's BMW was in the driveway, but the house felt empty. I found her in the kitchen, making a salad. She looked up when I walked in, her expression cautious. "We need to talk," she said. "Now you want to talk?" "Holden, please. Last night, I think we both said things we didn't mean." I set my briefcase down and loosened my tie. I meant every word. "You can't be serious about divorce. 20 years, Holden. We have a son." "We do, and he deserves better than watching his parents pretend to be happy." She set down her knife. "I'm not pretending." "No? When's the last time you looked forward to seeing me? When's the last time we had a conversation that didn't end with you telling me how much better your ex was? That's not... It's exactly fair. You checked out, Vanna. Emotionally, physically, financially. You've been planning your exit for months." Her face went white. "How did you..." $12,000. Personal account. Trey Morrison. I watched her expression crumble. "Did you really think I wouldn't notice?" She slumped against the kitchen counter. "It's not what you think." "It's exactly what I think. You're having an affair, you're moving our money, and you're planning to leave. The only thing I got wrong was the timeline." "Holden." "Save it." I headed for the stairs. "I've got calls to make." "What calls?" I stopped and looked back at her. She looked smaller again, fragile, but I was done feeling sorry for her. "The kind of calls you make when your wife proves, for the 1000th time, that her ex really never did let her down." Upstairs, I found Nate in his room, supposedly doing homework but actually playing video games. "How was school?" I asked. "Fine. How was work?" "Interesting." I sat on his desk chair. "Your mom and I are going to have some difficult conversations over the next few days. Things might get tense." "More tense than they already are?" Smart kid. "Yeah, more tense. I want you to know that none of this is your fault, and whatever happens, you'll be okay." "Are you okay?" I thought about that. Was I okay? My marriage was over, my wife was having an affair, and I was about to turn my life upside down. But for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. "I'm getting there," I said. "Good. Because Mom's been acting weird for months, and you've been acting like you don't notice. It's been driving me crazy." "You noticed?" "I'm 16, not blind. She's been sneaking around, you've been pretending everything's fine. It's like watching a really bad TV show." I laughed despite everything. "Well, the show's about to change channels." "Good. Maybe we can find something better." I ruffled his hair and headed for my office. Time to make those calls. The first one was to Clint. "How fast can you move on those separation papers?" 24 hours if you need them that fast." "I need them that fast." "Consider it done. Anything else?" "Yeah, I want to transfer the rental income from the duplex into a trust for Nate. Can we do that?" "Absolutely. Smart move, actually. Protects the asset and benefits your son." "Do it." The second call was to my bank. "I need to freeze our joint accounts pending legal separation." "I'll need documentation, Mr. Revell." "You'll have it tomorrow morning." The third call was to Derek. "Remember what you said about making sure she regretted it?" "Yeah. I'm ready to listen." The next morning started with Vanna screaming. I was in the kitchen making coffee when she stormed downstairs, waving her phone like a weapon. "The accounts are frozen," she yelled. "My card was declined at Starbucks. What did you do?" I took a sip of coffee. Still too hot, but the burn felt appropriate. "I protected our assets pending legal separation." "Legal separation? Holden, you can't be serious." "They're absolutely serious." I pulled the papers from my briefcase and set them on the kitchen counter. "Clint delivered these an hour ago." She stared at the documents like they might bite her. "You can't just..." "We need to discuss this." "We did discuss it, for months. Every time you compared me to your ex, every time you came home late from your workouts, every time you moved money without telling me." "That money was for..." "For what? Your wellness center with Trey?" She went pale. Again, I was getting used to that look. "How do you know about that?" "I know about a lot of things, Vanna. Like how Trey's done this before. 3 times in the last 2 years. Married women, well off, all ended up divorced and broke while he moved on to the next mark. That's not... He's not what? Using you? Come on, Vanna. You're smarter than that." She sank into a kitchen chair, the fight going out of her. "You don't understand. He makes me feel... like your ex never did?" "Yeah, I got that message loud and clear." "That's not what I meant." "It's exactly what you meant. And you know what? You're right. Your ex never let you down. He broke up with you before he could disappoint you. Lucky him." She looked up at me, tears starting. Why are you being so cruel? I'm not being cruel. I'm being honest. For the first time in years, I'm saying exactly what I think instead of pretending everything's fine. Nate appeared in the doorway, backpack slung over his shoulder. I'm going to school. Want a ride? I asked. I'll walk. It's less dramatic. Smart kid. He kissed Vanna on the forehead and squeezed my shoulder on his way out. The front door closed behind him with a soft click. Our son hates us, Vanna said. Our son is tired of watching us pretend. There's a difference. So what now? You just end it? 20 years gone? I sat down across from her. You ended it, Vanna. I'm just making it official. At work, Derek was waiting with coffee and a manila folder. What's this? I asked. Research on your boy Trey. I opened the folder. Social media printouts, business registration documents, even what looked like a credit report. How did you... My cousin works in background checks. Owed me a favor. Derek leaned back in his chair. Your wife picked a real winner. I flipped through the pages. Trey Morrison, 34, no college degree, 3 failed businesses in the last 5 years, personal training certification from some online program, and debt. Lots of debt. Credit cards maxed out, Derek said. Behind on his car payment, evicted from his apartment 6 months ago, he's been crashing at the gym. At the gym? Well, Jake confirmed it. Trey's been living in the office after hours. Management doesn't know, but Jake's seen the sleeping bag. I stared at a photo of Trey flexing in front of a mirror. So he's homeless. Essentially, which explains why he's so interested in your wife's money. And the wellness center? Pure fantasy. Look at page 3. I found the business registration. Morrison Wellness, LLC. Filed last month. Filed, not funded. No business license, no lease, no equipment, just paperwork. But Vanna thinks what he told her to think. Guy's a professional, Holden. This is what he does. I closed the folder. How many people know about this? Just us, and Jake, but he's solid. What about Vanna's friends? Do they know about Trey? Derek grinned. Funny you should ask. Turns out Jess has been asking questions. Jake says she's been sniffing around the gym, asking about Trey's other clients. Jessa, Vanna's best friend since college. They did everything together. Shopping, lunch dates, gossip sessions that lasted hours. If anyone knew the details of Vanna's affair, it would be Jessa. Think she'd talk to me? Only one way to find out. I called Jessa during my lunch break. She answered on the second ring, her voice cautious. Holden, is everything okay? That depends. How much do you know about Trey Morrison? A long pause. Maybe we should meet. When? Tonight. Murphy's Bar, 8 o'clock. And Holden? Come alone. Murphy's Bar was the kind of place where people went to have conversations they couldn't have anywhere else. Dark corners, loud music, bartenders who minded their own business. I found Jessa in a booth near the back, nursing a martini and looking nervous. You look like hell, she said as I sat down. So everyone keeps telling me. The waitress appeared and I ordered a beer. When she left, Jessa leaned forward. How much do you know? She asked. Enough. The question is, how much do you know? Too much. She took a sip of her martini. I tried to warn her, Holden. I really did. Warn her about what? About Trey, about what he is. Jessa looked around the bar like she expected Vanna to materialize. I did some digging after she started talking about leaving you, found out about his other clients. Derek told me there were 3. 4 that he knows of. She pulled out her phone, scrolled through photos. This is Rebecca Chen. Divorced her husband last year, gave Trey $50,000 for a fitness business. He disappeared 2 months later. She swiped to the next photo. Sarah Williams, same story, different amount, $60,000. Jesus. It gets worse. I tried to tell Vanna, but she wouldn't listen. Said I was jealous, that I didn't understand what real love felt like. Real love? Her words, not mine. Jessa finished her martini in one gulp. She's planning to leave you, Holden. Next month. She's already looking at apartments. With what money? I froze the accounts. She's got cash stashed, and jewelry. She's been selling things. Her grandmother's ring, those pearl earrings you bought her for your anniversary. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. The pearls? Sold them last week. Got $3,000. Those pearls had cost me 4 months of overtime. Vanna had cried when I gave them to her. Said they were the most beautiful thing she'd ever owned. There's more, Jessa said. She's been bad-mouthing you to everyone. Telling people you're controlling, that you've been emotionally abusive. I know it's not true. But she's setting up the narrative. making herself the victim. The waitress brought my beer. I took a long drink, trying to process everything Jessa had told me. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because I care about her, and because she's making the biggest mistake of her life." Jessa signaled for another martini. Also because Trey hit on me last week. He what? At the gym. Vanna was in the bathroom, and he started asking if I was satisfied with my current situation. Wanted to know if I'd be interested in some personal training. "Did you tell Vanna?" "I tried. She accused me of lying, said I was trying to sabotage her happiness." Jessa's new drink arrived. 25 years of friendship, and she chose him over me. "I'm sorry." "Don't be sorry. Be smart. She's going to try to take you for everything she can get. Don't let her." "I won't." "Good." Jessa raised her glass. "To not letting people take advantage of us." We drank to that, and then she told me about the photos. "What photos?" I asked. "The ones on Trey's phone. He was showing them off at the gym last week. Pictures of him and Vanna at that new hotel downtown. Very intimate pictures." My grip tightened on my beer bottle. "How intimate?" "Use your imagination. Then make it worse." "Who else saw them?" "Half the gym, from what Jake tells me. Trey was bragging about his rich girlfriend and how she was going to set him up for life." I closed my eyes. 20 years of marriage, reduced to locker room gossip and cell phone photos. "There's something else," Jessa said. "Something you need to know about their plans." "What plans?" "They're not just talking about a wellness center. They're talking about moving. Trey's got family in Florida. He's been telling Vanna they could start fresh there, away from all the negative influences. Meaning me. Meaning you. And Nate. She wouldn't leave Nate. She's been asking him how he'd feel about spending summers in Florida, testing the waters. I thought about my conversation with Nate the night before, his comment about the bad TV show. Had Vanna already started working on him? "When?" I asked. "Soon. Maybe next month, after she gets her hands on whatever money she can." "The divorce settlement." "Exactly. She's planning to take half of everything, then disappear." I finished my beer and signaled for another. Not if I stop her first. "How?" "I'm still figuring that out." Jessa leaned across the table. "Holden, can I give you some advice?" "Shoot." "Don't just stop her. Destroy her, completely. She's been planning this for months, maybe longer. She's been lying to you, stealing from you, humiliating you. She deserves whatever she gets." "I'm not looking for revenge, Jessa." "Maybe you should be, because she sure as hell isn't showing you any mercy." I got home around 10. The house was dark except for a light in Nate's room. Vanna's car was gone. That's probably at another workout session. I knocked on Nate's door. "Can I come in?" "Sure." He was lying on his bed with a textbook, but I could tell he wasn't really reading. "Where's your mom?" I asked. "Out. Didn't say where." He looked up at me. "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Anything." "Are you going to fight for custody of me?" The question hit me like a brick. "Do you want me to?" "Yeah, I do." "Why?" "Because Mom's been asking weird questions, like how I'd feel about changing schools, moving somewhere warmer. She keeps talking about new beginnings and fresh starts." "What do you tell her?" "That I like my school, that I like my friends, that I don't want to move anywhere." He closed his textbook. "She doesn't seem to hear me." "I hear you." "I know. That's why I want to stay with you." I sat on the edge of his bed. "It might get messy, kiddo. Divorce usually does." "Messier than this?" "Good point. Dad, whatever you're planning to do about Mom and her trainer, I'm on your side." "This isn't about sides, Nate." "Yes, it is, and I choose you." I hugged my son, and for the first time in weeks, something felt right. Vanna came home around midnight. I was waiting in the kitchen with a cup of coffee and the folder Derek had given me. "We need to talk," I said. "I'm tired, Holden. Can't this wait?" "No." She sighed and sat down across from me. "What now?" I opened the folder and spread the papers across the table. "Tell me about Morrison Wellness, LLC." Her face went white. Third time in 2 days. I was definitely getting used to that look. "How did you—" "Rebecca Chen, Sarah Williams. Should I go on?" "I don't know what you're talking about." "Sure you do. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Just like you know about Trey's debt, his eviction, and the fact that he's been living at the gym." She stared at the papers like they might disappear. "That's not... He's just going through a rough patch." "A rough patch?" "Vanna, he's a con man. This is what he does. He finds married women with money, makes them feel special, then takes them for everything he can get. You don't know him. I know enough. I know he's shown half the gym those photos he took of you at the hotel. She gasped. He wouldn't. He did. Ask Jessa if you don't believe me. Oh wait, you can't, because you accused her of lying when she tried to warn you. Vanna put her head in her hands. This is all wrong. This isn't how it was supposed to happen. How was it supposed to happen, Vanna? You leave me, take half our money, run off to Florida with a guy you've known for 3 months? He loves me. He loves your money. There's a difference. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. For the 1000th time, your ex never let you down. Well, congratulations. You found someone who will. She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. What do you want from me? Nothing. I don't want anything from you anymore. Then why are you doing this? Because you asked for it. Because you compared me to your ex for the last time. Because you chose him over our family. I stood up and gathered the papers. The separation agreement is on the counter. Sign it, and we can do this the easy way. And if I don't, then we do it the hard way. Your choice. Holden, please. For the 1000th time, Vanna, your ex never let you down. But I'm not your ex, and I'm done being your consolation prize. I left her sitting at the kitchen table, surrounded by the evidence of her poor choices. Tomorrow, things were going to get interesting. I woke up to the sound of Vanna slamming doors downstairs. From my bedroom window, I could see her loading suitcases into her BMW, running away, just like Jessa had predicted. I threw on jeans and a t-shirt and headed downstairs. Vanna was in the kitchen, stuffing papers into her purse. Going somewhere? I asked. I'm staying at my mother's for a few days. I need space to think. About what? How to spin this to your advantage? She whirled around, her face flushed with anger. About how my husband turned into a complete stranger overnight. I didn't turn into anything. I just stopped pretending everything was fine. You froze our accounts. You had me served with papers. You investigated my friend. Your friend? Is that what we're calling Trey now? She grabbed her purse and headed for the door. I can't do this anymore. Good. Don't. She stopped in the doorway. What's that supposed to mean? It means I'm done too. Done with the comparisons, done with the lies, done with being treated like I'm not good enough for my own wife. Holden, save it. Go to your mother's. Figure out your next move. But remember, I know everything now. About Trey, about the money, about your plans, everything. She left without another word. 5 minutes later, Nate appeared in the kitchen, already dressed for school. She's really gone? He asked. For now? Good. Maybe we can have breakfast without anyone crying or yelling. I made pancakes. Real ones from scratch, the way my mother had taught me. Nate ate 3 and complimented the syrup to pancake ratio. We talked about his history test and whether the Yankees had any chance this season. Normal father-son conversation. Dad? Nate said as he grabbed his backpack. Whatever happens with Mom, I want you to know you're a good dad, better than she deserves. Don't talk about your mother like that. Even when it's true? Especially when it's true. He grinned and headed for the door. See you tonight? After he left, I called Clint. She didn't sign the papers, I told him. Expected. What's plan B? I'm working on it. Can you file for divorce without her signature on the separation agreement? Absolutely. Might take longer, but we can do it. Do it. Holden, are you sure about this? Once we file, there's no going back. I thought about Vanna's suitcases, her tears, her accusations. I thought about 20 years of marriage and the woman who used to laugh at my jokes and steal bites of my dessert. I'm sure. Okay, I'll have the papers ready by this afternoon. At work, Derek was waiting with more coffee and another folder. Please tell me that's not more research on Trey, I said. Okay, I won't tell you that. I opened the folder. More photos, more documents, more evidence of my wife's poor judgment. This is from last night, Derek said, pointing to a printout of an Instagram story, posted around 11 p.m. The photo showed Trey and Vanna at some trendy bar downtown. They were sitting close together, Vanna's hand on his chest, both of them laughing. The caption read, "When you know, you know. New beginnings. Blessed." She posted this? He did. Tagged her in it. While I was at home waiting for her to come back from her workout. Gets better. Check the comments. I scrolled down. Dozens of comments, mostly from people I didn't recognize. But a few stood out. So happy for you both. About time you found someone who appreciates you. He's such an upgrade. And then, at the bottom, a comment from Vanna herself. Finally feel like I'm living again. I stared at the screen. 20 years of marriage, and she was celebrating its end on social media. There's more, Derek said. Look at the location tag. The post was tagged at the Meridian Hotel, Presidential Suite. How much does that cost? I asked. About $800 a night. With what money? Good question. The accounts are frozen, right? Right. I pulled out my phone and called the bank. After 10 minutes of hold music and security questions, I had my answer. She opened a new account last week, I told Derek. Transferred $15,000 from her personal savings. Money you didn't know about? Money I didn't know about. Derek leaned back in his chair. So she's been planning this for a while. Months, apparently. I closed the folder. Derek, can I ask you something? Shoot. If you wanted to really embarrass someone, publicly, completely, how would you do it? Depends. How public are we talking? Very public. Derek grinned. I might have some ideas. That afternoon, I drove to Elite Fitness. I'd never been inside before, but I'd driven past it dozens of times. Upscale place, all glass and chrome, the kind of gym where people went to be seen as much as to work out. The receptionist was a blonde girl in her 20s, wearing workout clothes that probably cost more than my monthly car payment. Can I help you? She asked with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I'm looking for Trey Morrison. Is he available? Are you interested in personal training? You could say that. She picked up the phone. Trey, there's someone here to see you. I didn't ask. Okay. She hung up. He'll be right out. I waited by the front desk, watching the gym's clientele through the glass partition. Lots of expensive workout gear, lots of posing, lots of people taking selfies between sets. Vanna would fit right in. Can I help you? I turned around. Trey Morrison was exactly what I'd expected. Tall, muscular, perfect teeth, the kind of tan that came from a bottle. He was wearing a tight black t-shirt with Elite Fitness across the chest and shorts that showed off his legs. Holden Ravel, I said, extending my hand. Vanna's husband. His smile faltered for just a second before snapping back into place. Oh, hey, nice to meet you. Is it? I'm sorry? Is it nice to meet me? Because I have to tell you, it's not particularly nice to meet you. The receptionist was pretending not to listen, but I could see her leaning closer. Maybe we should talk somewhere private, Trey said. Why? Ashamed of something? Look, man, I don't know what Vanna's told you. She's told me a lot of things, but I've learned more from other sources. Other sources? Rebecca Chen, Sarah Williams. Should I continue? His face went pale. Not as pale as Vanna's had been, but close. I think there's been some misunderstanding, he said. No misunderstanding. You're a con artist who targets married women. Vanna's just your latest mark. That's not... It's exactly true. The question is, what are you going to do about it? What do you mean? I stepped closer, lowering my voice just enough to make him lean in. I mean, you're going to stop seeing my wife. You're going to return whatever money she's given you. And you're going to disappear from our lives. Or what? Or I make sure everyone in this gym knows exactly what you are, starting with your boss. Trey glanced around nervously. The receptionist was definitely listening now, and a few gym members had stopped their workouts to watch our conversation. You can't threaten me, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. I'm not threatening you. I'm promising you. Stay away from my family. I turned and walked toward the exit, but Trey grabbed my arm. Hey, we're not done talking. Big mistake. I spun around and knocked his hand away. Don't touch me. You can't just come in here and what? Tell the truth? Expose you for what you are? By now, half the gym was watching. I could see phones coming out, people starting to record. You want to know the truth about Trey Morrison? I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Ask Rebecca Chen, ask Sarah Williams, ask any of the married women he scammed over the last 2 years. You're crazy, Trey said, but he was backing away. Am I? Then explain the photos you've been showing around, the ones of you and my wife at the hotel. Someone in the crowd gasped. The receptionist's mouth fell open. That's right, I continued. Your boy here likes to brag about his conquests, takes pictures, shows them off like trophies. You need to leave, Trey said. I'm leaving. But remember what I said. Stay away from my family. I walked out of the gym to the sound of excited whispers and camera phones clicking. By the time I got to my car, I was shaking, not from fear, but from adrenaline. My phone buzzed. Text from Derek. Jake says you just became a legend at Elite Fitness. Half the gym is talking about it. I typed back. Good. Let them talk. I was home for about an hour when Vanna called. What did you do? She screamed before I could even say hello. I had a conversation. You humiliated him, in front of everyone. I told the truth. If he's humiliated, that's on him. Holden, you can't just... I can't what? Defend myself? Protect my family? What exactly can't I do, Vanna? This isn't you. You don't do things like this. You're right. The old me didn't do things like this. The old me let you walk all over him for years. But that guy's gone. What's that supposed to mean? It means I'm done being your doormat, done being compared to your ex, done pretending I don't know what's going on. Nothing's going on. Really? Then explain the Instagram post, the hotel receipts, the $15,000 you hid from me. Silence. That's what I thought, I said. Holden, please, we can work this out. No, we can't. You made your choice. Now live with it. What about Nate? What about him? He needs both his parents. He needs parents who respect each other. Since you can't manage that, he'll have to settle for one who respects himself. You're making a mistake. The only mistake I made was waiting this long to do something about it. I hung up and turned off my phone. Whatever Vanna's next move was, I didn't want to hear about it until tomorrow. Nate got home around 6, grinning from ear to ear. Dad, you're famous. What? The video from the gym. It's all over social media. Husband confronts wife's trainer is trending on TikTok. Oh, God. Are you kidding? It's awesome. You totally destroyed that guy. Language. Sorry, you totally demolished that guy. Better. He pulled out his phone. Want to see? Someone posted it on YouTube. It's got like 50,000 views already. No, I do not want to see. Come on, just a little. Nate. Fine. But for the record, I'm proud of you. For making a scene in a gym? For standing up for yourself. Finally. We ordered pizza and watched a baseball game. Normal evening, except for the constant buzzing of my phone with notifications I refused to check. Around 9, Nate went upstairs to do homework, and I finally turned my phone back on. 47 missed calls, 63 text messages, 2 voicemails from reporters wanting to interview me about the viral gym confrontation. I deleted everything without reading it. But as I was getting ready for bed, one more call came in. Unknown number. Hello? Mr. Ravel, this is Officer Martinez with the City Police. We've had a complaint filed against you for harassment and disturbing the peace. By who? A Mr. Trey Morrison. He says you threatened him at his workplace and caused a public disturbance. I told him to stay away from my wife. That's not a threat. It's a request. Sir, I'm going to need you to come down to the station tomorrow morning to make a statement. Am I being arrested? Not at this time, but we do need to get your side of the story. Fine. What time? 9 a.m. Ask for me at the front desk. I'll be there. I hung up and called Clint. They want me to come in for questioning, I told him. About the gym? Yeah. Don't say anything without me there. I'll meet you at the station. Is this bad? Probably not. But let's be careful anyway. After I hung up, I sat on the edge of my bed and thought about the day. 24 hours ago, I'd been a guy whose wife was cheating on him. Now I was a viral video star facing potential criminal charges. But for the first time in months, I felt like myself again. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Vanna would probably escalate things. Trey would probably file more complaints. The media attention would probably get worse. But tonight, I was sleeping in my own bed, in my own house, without having to listen to anyone tell me how much better her ex was. For the 1000th time, she'd said it. But this time, I'd answered. And I was just getting started. Officer Martinez looked like he'd rather be anywhere else than listening to my story at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. Clint sat beside me in the small interview room, occasionally taking notes, but mostly just making sure I didn't say anything stupid. So you went to the gym to confront Mr. Morrison about his relationship with your wife? Martinez asked. I went to ask him to stop seeing her. And when he refused? He didn't refuse. He tried to deny there was anything going on. So you raised your voice? I stated facts, loudly. Martinez looked at his notes. According to witnesses, you accused Mr. Morrison of being a con artist and threatened to expose him to his employer. I didn't threaten anything. I told him what I was going to do. There's a difference? Clint leaned forward. Officer, my client has every right to speak truthfully about someone who's having an affair with his wife. No threats were made, no physical contact occurred until Mr. Morrison grabbed my client's arm. Mr. Morrison says your client was aggressive and intimidating. Mr. Morrison is sleeping with my client's wife, Clint replied. I'd say that's significantly more aggressive than asking him to stop. Martinez closed his notebook. Mr. Ravel, I'm not going to file charges, but I strongly recommend you avoid any further contact with Mr. Morrison. Gladly. And maybe stay away from social media for a while. This thing's gotten bigger than you probably intended. How big? Big enough that we've had 3 reporters call asking for comment. Big enough that Mr. Morrison's employer is asking questions about his conduct with clients. I tried not to smile. That's unfortunate. For him, maybe. For you, it might be good to let things cool down. Outside the police station, Clint and I walked to our cars. Well, that went better than expected, he said. Think Trey will try anything else? Depends how desperate he gets. Speaking of which, I've got news about the divorce filing. Good news or bad news? Depends on your perspective. Vanna's hired an attorney, Margaret Steinberg. I whistled. Expensive. Very, and very good. She's going to fight for everything. Let her fight. I've got documentation of the affair, the hidden money, everything. That'll help. But Holden, you need to be prepared for this to get ugly. Uglier than it already is? Much uglier. Steinberg specializes in high-conflict divorces. She's going to paint you as controlling, abusive, unstable. The gym incident won't help. So what do? Stay clean. Don't give them any ammunition. And whatever you do, don't confront Trey again. What if he confronts me? Call me, then call the police. We shook hands and I headed to work. But instead of going to the office, I drove to the duplex on Maple Street. I hadn't been there in weeks, and I needed to check on my tenants. The property looked good. Fresh paint on the trim, lawn recently mowed, no obvious problems. I knocked on the door of Unit A. Mr. Ravel. Mrs. Patterson was in her 70s, had been renting from me for 5 years. How nice to see you. Come in, come in. Her apartment was spotless, as always. She offered me coffee, and I accepted, needing the normalcy of a routine conversation. How are things, Mrs. Patterson? Oh, fine, fine. Though I have to ask, is everything all right with you? I saw that video online. Great. Even my tenants knew about the gym incident. Just some personal issues. Nothing that affects the property. Of course not. You've always been a wonderful landlord. Much better than my daughter's landlord in Boston. He never fixes anything, raises the rent every year. I let her talk, enjoying the simple pleasure of being appreciated for something. When I left an hour later, I felt more centered than I had in days. My phone rang as I was driving back to the office. Derek. Where are you? He asked. Heading to work. Why? Because Trey Morrison just showed up at our building. What? He's in the parking lot. Looks like he's waiting for you. Did you call the police? Not yet. Thought you might want to handle this yourself. I'm 5 minutes away. Don't let him inside the building. Copy that. I drove faster than I probably should have, my mind racing. What was Trey thinking? After yesterday's confrontation, after filing a police complaint, he was coming to my workplace? I pulled into the parking lot and spotted him immediately. He was leaning against a black pickup truck I didn't recognize, wearing jeans and a tank top that showed off his arms. Trying to look intimidating, I guess. Derek was waiting by the building entrance, along with 2 other guys from our office. Back up, in case things got physical. I parked and got out of my car. Trey straightened up when he saw me. We need to talk, he called out. No, we don't. Yeah, we do. You cost me my job. I walked closer, but not too close. You cost yourself your job. Elite Fitness fired me this morning, said I violated their code of conduct policy. That's unfortunate. It's bullshit. You had no right. I had every right. You're sleeping with my wife. Your wife came to me. She's the one who wanted this. And you're the one who took advantage of it. Derek and the other guys moved closer, forming a loose semicircle. Trey noticed and looked around nervously. This isn't over, he said. Yes, it is. It's completely over. Stay away from me, stay away from my family, stay away from my workplace. Or what? Or next time I won't just tell the truth about you, I'll prove it. You can't prove anything. I pulled out my phone and showed him the screen. Rebecca Chen's phone number. Want me to call her? Ask her about the $50,000 you stole? His face went white. You don't know what you're talking about. Sarah Williams, $60,000. Should I keep going? Those women? That was different. Different how? Different because they were stupider than my wife? Different because they trusted you more? Screw you, man. There it is. The real Trey Morrison. Not the charming personal trainer, not the wellness guru, just another con artist who got caught. He stepped toward me, hands clenched into fists. Derek and the guys stepped forward too. You want to do this here? I asked. In front of witnesses? With cameras recording? Trey looked around and realized he was outnumbered and outthought. This isn't over, he repeated. Yeah, it is. He got in his truck and drove away, tires squealing on the pavement. Derek clapped me on the shoulder. That was well handled, he said. Think he'll be back? Probably not. Guys like that are all bluster when they think they have the advantage. Soon as they realize they don't, they fold. I hope you're right. I'm right, but just in case, maybe we should install some security cameras. The rest of the day passed quietly. I caught up on paperwork, returned client calls, tried to pretend my life wasn't falling apart. Around 4 p.m., my phone rang. Vanna. We need to talk, she said without preamble. About what? About Trey losing his job, about you harassing him, about this whole situation getting out of control. I didn't harass anyone. You cost him his livelihood. He cost himself his livelihood. Actions have consequences, Vanna. He has bills to pay. So do I. So does our son. Maybe Trey should have thought about that before he started sleeping with married women. You don't understand? I understand perfectly. You're worried about your boyfriend's financial situation. Well, here's a thought. Maybe he can get money from one of his other marks. Stop calling them that. What should I call them? Clients, victims, women stupid enough to fall for his act? I'm not stupid. Prove it. Come home. End this nonsense. We can try counseling, work things out. A long pause. I can't. Why not? Because I don't love you anymore. There it was. The truth, finally spoken out loud. 20 years of marriage reduced to 6 words. Okay, I said. Okay? Okay. At least now I know where we stand. Holden? No, it's fine. Actually, it's better than fine. It's honest. First honest thing you've said in months. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? Fair would have been telling me you were unhappy before you started sleeping with someone else. Fair would have been not stealing our money to fund your affair. Fair would have been not humiliating me on social media. I never meant for it to happen this way. But it did happen this way. And now we deal with the consequences. What does that mean? It means you made your choice. Now I'm making mine. I hung up and immediately called Clint. File for full custody of Nate, I said. Holden, are you sure? That's going to make things very contentious. She just told me she doesn't love me anymore. She's planning to leave the state with a con artist. I'm not letting her take my son. Okay, I'll draft the papers. But you need to be prepared for a fight. I'm prepared. Are you? Because Steinberg's going to come at you with everything she's got. The gym incident, the confrontation today, anything she can use to paint you as unstable. Let her try. I've got 20 years of being a good father. What does Vanna have? 3 months of bad decisions? We'll see. I'll have the custody motion ready by tomorrow. That evening, I made dinner for Nate and me. Spaghetti and meatballs, his favorite. We ate while watching a basketball game, talking about everything except the obvious. Dad? Nate said as he was loading the dishwasher. Mom called me today. What did she say? Asked if I wanted to spend the weekend with her at Grandma's house. Do you? Not really. Grandma's house smells like mothballs, and she makes me watch old movies. But I probably should, right? She's still my mom. I thought about that. Vanna was still his mother, despite everything, and Nate shouldn't have to choose sides, even though she was forcing him to. If you want to go, you should go. If you don't want to go, you don't have to. What do you want me to do? I want you to do whatever feels right to you. What feels right is staying here, with you. Then stay. But what if Mom gets mad? Let me worry about your mom. Okay. He finished loading the dishwasher and started it running. Dad, can I ask you something else? Shoot. Are you happy? I mean, with everything that's happening? I thought about that. Was I happy? My marriage was over. My wife was with another man. I was facing a custody battle and possible criminal charges. But for the first time in months, I wasn't walking on eggshells. I wasn't being compared to someone else. I wasn't pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. I'm not happy about the situation, I said, but I'm happy that I'm finally dealing with it honestly. Good, because you seem different. Better. Better how? Like yourself again. Around 10 p.m., as I was getting ready for bed, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Is this Holden Ravel? A woman's voice unfamiliar. Who's asking? My name is Rebecca Chen. I think we need to talk. I sat down heavily on my bed. About Trey Morrison? About Trey Morrison. I saw the video from the gym. I know what he did to you because he did the same thing to me. I'm listening. Can we meet? Tomorrow, maybe? I have some things you should know. Things that might help with your situation. What kind of things? The kind of things that could put Trey Morrison in jail. I grabbed a pen and paper. Where and when? Murphy's Diner, noon tomorrow. I'll be wearing a red jacket. I'll be there. Mr. Ravel, be careful. Trey doesn't like being exposed. He's done some pretty terrible things to people who've crossed him. What kind of things? The kind of things you should know about before he does them to you. She hung up, leaving me staring at my phone and wondering what I'd gotten myself into. But one thing was certain. Tomorrow was going to be very interesting. For the 1000th time, Vanna had compared me to her ex, but now I was about to find out just how much worse things could get. Rebecca Chen was exactly what I'd expected. Well-dressed, intelligent, and carrying the kind of quiet anger that comes from being betrayed by someone you trusted. She was already seated when I arrived at Murphy's Diner, her red jacket draped over the back of her chair. Mr. Ravel? She stood and offered her hand. Thank you for meeting me. Call me Holden, and thank you for reaching out. We ordered coffee, and she got straight to the point. Trey Morrison destroyed my marriage, stole $50,000 from me, and when I tried to expose him, he threatened to release intimate photos he'd taken without my consent. I nearly choked on my coffee. Photos? He has a thing for documentation. Takes pictures, records conversations, keeps everything as leverage. She pulled out her phone. I managed to get some of his files before he disappeared. I think your wife is in serious danger. She showed me the screen, dozens of photos, all of different women in compromising positions, and there, in a folder labeled VH, were pictures of Vanna. Jesus. There are videos, too. Hotel rooms, his apartment, even the gym after hours. Rebecca's voice was steady, but I could see her hands shaking. He uses them to control women. If they try to leave, if they threaten to tell their husbands, he blackmails them. How did you get these? I hired a private investigator after my divorce. Cost me another $20,000, but it was worth it to get the evidence. Evidence of what? Fraud, extortion, coercion. Enough to put him away for years if we can get the victims to testify. I stared at the photos of my wife. Vanna, who thought she was in love. Vanna, who had no idea she was being documented and cataloged like a specimen. What do you want from me? I asked. Help. You exposed him publicly, cost him his job. He's desperate now, which makes him dangerous. But it also makes him sloppy. Meaning? Meaning he's going to make a mistake. And when he does, we need to be ready. Rebecca pulled out a business card. This is Detective Sarah Walsh. She specializes in cyber crimes and exploitation. She's been building a case against Trey for months, but she needs more victims to come forward. More victims? There are at least 7 women that we know of. Maybe more. All married, all wealthy, all too ashamed to report what happened. I thought about Vanna, about her plans to run away to Florida, about the money she'd already given him. What happens if I do nothing? Your wife becomes his next victim. He'll take whatever money she has, document everything they do together, and when she finally realizes what he is, he'll threaten to destroy her life if she tries to leave. And if I help you? We stop him, permanently. I looked at the photos again, at my wife's face in those intimate moments, and felt something cold settle in my chest. What do you need me to do? Detective Walsh looked like she could bench press a small car. Short, muscular, with the kind of direct stare that probably made suspects confess just to avoid prolonged eye contact. Mr. Ravel, I appreciate you coming forward. Rebecca's told me about your situation. We were sitting in her office at the police station, surrounded by filing cabinets and computer equipment. Walsh had been working the Trey Morrison case for 8 months. How many women are we talking about? I asked. That we know of? 9? That we suspect? Probably twice that. She pulled out a thick folder. Morrison's been running this scam for at least 3 years. Always the same pattern, targets married women at upscale gyms, seduces them, gets them to invest in fake business ventures, then disappears when the money runs out. But he didn't disappear from my wife. No, because she's his biggest score yet. Your financial records show significant assets. The house, the rental property, retirement accounts. He's going for the jackpot. What about the photos? The blackmail? That's his insurance policy. If a victim tries to expose him or get their money back, he threatens to release the images. Very effective. Has he actually released any? Walsh's expression darkened. 3 times that we know of. One woman attempted suicide after her photos were sent to her husband and posted online. I felt sick. She survived. But her marriage didn't. Lost custody of her kids, lost her job. Morrison destroyed her life because she tried to get her money back. And you can't arrest him? We need more evidence. The photos alone aren't enough. He claims they were consensual. We need proof of the fraud, the extortion, the pattern of behavior. What kind of proof? Recordings of him demanding money or threatening victims. Documentation of the fake business ventures. Testimony from multiple victims. I can get you testimony from my wife. Walsh shook her head. Your wife is still involved with him. She's not going to testify against him until she realizes what he really is. So what do I do? You help us catch him in the act. The plan was simple, which made me nervous. Simple plans had a way of going complicated very quickly. I would contact Trey, tell him I wanted to make a deal, offer him money to leave Vanna alone, let him think he was extorting me. Walsh would wire me up, record the conversation, get him to admit to the blackmail scheme. He won't go for it, I said. He's not stupid. He's desperate, Rebecca replied. You cost him his job, his reputation. He needs money fast. And if he doesn't take the bait, then we try something else, Walsh said. But I think he will. Men like Morrison can't resist an easy score. I called Trey that afternoon, using the number Derek had gotten from Jake at the gym. What do you want? He answered on the second ring. To make this whole situation go away. I'm listening. Meet me tonight. Murphy's Bar, 9 o'clock. Come alone. Why would I do that? Because I'm offering you money to disappear from our lives. A pause. How much money? Enough to make it worth your while. This better not be some kind of setup. It's not. I just want this over with. Fine, 9 o'clock, but if you try anything, I won't. I just want my life back. He hung up. Walsh, who had been listening on speaker, nodded approvingly. He'll be there, she said. Men like him can't resist easy money. What if he brings backup? We'll have backup too. Plainclothes officers will be in the bar, more outside. You'll be safe. And if something goes wrong? Nothing will go wrong. You get him talking, get him to admit to the blackmail, we arrest him. Simple. Famous last words. Murphy's Bar was crowded for a Tuesday night, which was good for cover but bad for recording quality. I sat in a corner booth, the wire taped to my chest, feeling like a neon sign advertising my deception. Trey arrived 10 minutes late, looking around nervously before spotting me. He was wearing jeans and a leather jacket, trying for intimidating, but achieving mostly paranoid. This better be good, he said, sliding into the booth across from me. Drink? I'm not here to socialize. Fine, let's talk business. I leaned forward, keeping my voice low. I want you to leave my wife alone. She doesn't want to be left alone. She doesn't know what she wants. She's confused, going through a midlife crisis. You're taking advantage of that. I'm not taking advantage of anything. She came to me. For personal training. Not for whatever this has turned into. Trey smirked. What it's turned into is none of your business. It's completely my business. She's my wife. Not for long. I clenched my fists under the table. How much? What? How much to walk away? Name your price. You think you can buy me off? I think you're a businessman, and I think your business with my wife isn't as profitable as you hoped. His expression shifted, became more calculating. What makes you say that? Because I know about Rebecca Chen, Sarah Williams, the others. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you do. The wellness centers that never materialized, the business investments that disappeared, the photos you use to keep women quiet when they figure out what you really are. Trey went very still. You're wearing a wire. I'm not wearing anything. Bullshit. He started to get up. This is a setup. Sit down. You're right. I am wearing a wire, but not for the police. He stopped halfway out of the booth. What? For my divorce attorney. I need evidence of your relationship with my wife. Proof of adultery for the custody hearing. Slowly, he sat back down. You're recording this for your lawyer? That's right, so let's make this simple. How much do you want to disappear? 50,000. Done. He blinked, clearly not expecting me to agree so quickly. Just like that? Just like that. 50,000 cash and you leave town, never contact my wife again. What about the photos? There it was. Walsh had been right. He couldn't help himself. What photos? Come on, man. You know what photos. The ones from the hotel, the gym, her apartment. You want those deleted too? It's going to cost extra. How much extra? Another 25. 75 total. I pretended to think about it. Fine, 75,000. But I want proof that everything's deleted. You'll have to trust me on that. No, I won't. You'll delete everything in front of me, or no deal. That's not how this works. That's exactly how this works. You think I'm stupid? You think I don't know what you are? Trey leaned across the table. What I am is the guy your wife chose over you. What I am is the guy who's been sleeping with her for 3 months while you sat at home like an idiot. What you are, I said quietly, is under arrest. Detective Walsh appeared beside our table like magic, her badge out and handcuffs ready. Trey Morrison, you're under arrest for extortion, fraud, and coercion. Trey tried to run, but 2 plainclothes officers blocked his path. The bar erupted in chaos as other patrons realized what was happening, phones coming out to record the drama. You set me up, Trey screamed as Walsh cuffed him. You set yourself up, I replied. I just gave you the rope. 2 hours later, I was back home, exhausted but oddly exhilarated. The wire had worked perfectly. Walsh had everything she needed to charge Trey with multiple felonies, and once word got out, she expected more victims to come forward. My phone rang around midnight. Vanna. They arrested him, she said without preamble. Her voice was small, broken. I know. Were you involved? Yes. How could you do that to me? I didn't do anything to you. I stopped someone from destroying your life. He loved me. He was using you, just like he used Rebecca Chen, Sarah Williams, and at least 7 other women. Silence. Vanna, he had photos, videos. He was planning to blackmail you if you ever tried to leave him. That's not... He wouldn't... He would. He has. He's done it before. More silence. I want to come home, she said finally. No. What? I said no, you made your choice. You told me you didn't love me anymore. You can't just come back because your boyfriend turned out to be a criminal. Holden, please. I made a mistake. You made a lot of mistakes, and I'm done paying for them. What about our marriage? 20 years. 20 years of you comparing me to your ex. 20 years of me not being good enough. 20 years of settling for someone who didn't really want to be with me. That's not true. It's completely true. And you know what? I'm done with it. I'm done being your consolation prize. So that's it? You're just going to throw away our marriage? I'm not throwing away anything. You already did that when you chose him over me. I hung up and turned off my phone. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. The custody hearing, the media attention, the long process of rebuilding my life. But tonight, I was sleeping in my own bed, in my own house, without having to listen to anyone tell me how much better someone else was. The custody hearing was scheduled for the following Friday. Clint was confident we'd win. Vanna's affair, her financial deception, and her association with a now-arrested felon didn't exactly scream stable parent, but I wasn't taking any chances. I spent the week documenting everything, Nate's school records, his extracurricular activities, his friends, his preferences, building a case for why he should stay with me. Thursday night, Nate and I were having dinner when he brought up the hearing. Dad, do I have to testify tomorrow? Only if you want to. The judge might ask you some questions, but you don't have to say anything you're not comfortable with. What if she asks me who I want to live with? Then you tell her the truth. The truth is I want to live with you, but I don't want to hurt Mom's feelings. I set down my fork and looked at my son. Really looked at him. 16 years old and already more mature than his mother. Nate, your mom made some bad choices. That's not your fault, and it's not your responsibility to protect her from the consequences. But she's my mom, and she always will be. But that doesn't mean you have to sacrifice your happiness for hers. What if she gets mad at me? Then she gets mad. But you'll still be my son, and you'll still be safe, and you'll still be loved. He nodded, but I could see the worry in his eyes. 16 years old and already learning that the adults in his life weren't as strong as they pretended to be. Friday morning arrived gray and drizzly, which seemed appropriate for a custody hearing. Clint met me at the courthouse looking confident in his best suit. How are you feeling? He asked as we climbed the steps. Like I'm about to fight for my son's future. Good. Keep that energy. Inside, we found Vanna sitting with Margaret Steinberg, her high-powered attorney. Vanna looked terrible, pale, thin, like she hadn't slept in weeks, which she probably hadn't. She looked up when we walked in, her eyes pleading. I looked away. The hearing itself was a blur of testimony, documents, and legal arguments. Steinberg tried to paint me as controlling and vindictive, pointing to the gym confrontation and the arrest of Trey as evidence of my unstable behavior. Clint countered by presenting evidence of Vanna's affair, her financial deception, and her association with a criminal. He painted a picture of a woman who had abandoned her family for a fantasy that turned out to be a nightmare. When the judge asked to speak with Nate privately, I held my breath. Everything came down to this: what my son would say about where he wanted to live. 20 minutes later, Nate emerged from the judge's chambers. He wouldn't look at his mother. The judge returned to the bench and delivered her ruling. Based on the evidence presented in my conversation with the minor child, I'm awarding primary custody to Mr. Ravel. Mrs. Ravel will have supervised visitation every other weekend, pending completion of family counseling. Vanna burst into tears. Steinberg put a comforting hand on her shoulder, but I could see the defeat in the lawyer's eyes. It was over. Outside the courthouse, reporters were waiting. The Trey Morrison story had made national news. Fitness trainer arrested in multi-state fraud scheme. And my role in his capture had made me a minor celebrity. Mr. Ravel, how do you feel about winning custody? Mr. Ravel, any comment on your wife's relationship with the accused? Mr. Ravel, what's next for your family? I stopped at the top of the courthouse steps and looked back at the building where my marriage had officially ended and my real life had officially begun. For the 1000th time, I said into the microphones, my ex-wife told me her ex never let her down. Well, I finally gave her a chance to test that theory. The reporters laughed, cameras flashed, and I walked away with my son and my dignity intact. 3 months later, Trey Morrison was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison for fraud, extortion, and coercion. 9 women testified against him, including Rebecca Chen. Vanna was not among them. She'd moved to her mother's house in Connecticut and refused to cooperate with the investigation. Nate and I settled into our new normal. Dinner conversations without drama, weekend projects on the duplex, baseball games and homework help, and all the ordinary moments that make up a real life. Sometimes, late at night, I thought about the 20 years I'd spent with Vanna, the good times, the bad times, the slow erosion of respect that had led to this moment. I wondered if things could have been different, if I'd spoken up sooner, if I'd demanded better treatment from the beginning, but mostly I was grateful. Grateful for my son, grateful for my friends, grateful for the chance to start over with someone who actually wanted to be with me. For the 1000th time she'd said it, but this time I'd answered, and the answer had set me free.